Oh, well. Still no Hatman. Ugh. That's okay. I'm okay with flying solo. I'm exhausted, but we're gonna make this happen anyway. Today, we'll be talking about the civil war that is supposedly going on within Disney. Oh, there's honestly more evidence of this one actually happening than what half of what Doomcock has said over the years. Plus, we'll be talking about one of my favorite anime of all time that I recently rewatched, and the story of why I rewatched it. So, let's go ahead and get right into it. My name is Micah Curtis. Hatman not here at the moment, but he'll be back hopefully next week. But welcome to Micah and The Hatman regardless. Alright, and just so you guys know, the reason I am starting early, I mentioned this on Twitter, that the reason I'm going early is because my sleep schedule is really wonky, and I have a doctor's appointment in the morning, which I hopefully don't have to reschedule again, because, I don't have a lot of money after groceries, which is kind of unfortunate. The reason that I'm worried about the doctor, and that I would like to be able to get there, is because of my finger. And let me actually show you guys what I mean. So, if I hold my fingers level, if you notice the broken one right here, it's bending a little further up than it's supposed to be. So, that's got me worried. Now, granted, I do have to do physio after the break is healed to get my joint working again properly. But I'm wondering if the tendon pulled it up too far. If it did, I have to have surgery, which is going to mean that the healing process is going to take even longer. And I don't know how I'm going to work. So anyway, let's get to my pick of the week. So, I've gotten a lot of writing done this week, which has made me very, very happy. And the funny thing is I set out to get some more work done on Englewood Book 3, because Englewood Book 3, actually has... Well, thank you for the resub, Hardboiled. Englewood Book 3 is about 12 pages in? No, 14. 14 pages in. But I haven't worked on it since I broke my finger. So I said to myself, you know what I need to do? I need to sit down and actually watch some crime stories. And if I watch some crime stories, that might get me in the mood to do some more Englewood shit. So, which, by the way, if you have not backed Englewood Book 2, the link is at !comics, plus in the lower right-hand corner, it will also show you what the link is as well. So anyway, the next arc in Englewood, by the way, is going to be a big one. It's going to be basically City of Assassins Part 1 and then City of Assassins Part 2. And it will probably be... The goal is to do the crowdfund for it at the end of this year, and then have it done at the midway point of the year, and then at the midway point of the year, when it gets fulfilled, start the campaign for the second part of that arc. Because the goal is to get at least, like, with the money that we're able to make so far, to get us to the point where we are putting out at least 8 issues worth of content every year. I wish it was more, but I don't really have a lot of influence right now. A lot of people are pissed off at me, so it's kind of hard to get issues moving. Chelsea says, "Hi Micah, hope your sleeping schedule and finger get fixed soon." Thank you so much, Chelsea. I appreciate the resub. So anyway, the funny thing is it backfired. I have not written any Englewood. I've been writing science fiction stuff and horror stuff instead, which is very weird. But anyway, in my pursuit to try to get in the mood to write a crime serial, for better or worse, well, actually, that's not completely true. I have an Englewood side story I'm working on that is a crime, that is a neo-noir specifically. And that one, I did some more pages on. But, largely I've been working on my, my novella, which, I wanted to get done because that's just money straight in my pocket, to be honest with you. Plus, it's a setup for Project Lazarus. But anyway, thank you for the 100 bits, Servant. What campaign is first? 3 Nights Part 2 or Englewood Book 3? Well, considering 3 Nights is completely scripted and we've already got a mailing list up for it, that's the one. Englewood Book 3 probably won't go live until the script is finished, and the artist that will be working on that particular book, which is a guy named Bruce, that I got introduced to through Armand, and I've got some money set aside to pay him to get some pages done early. So that is the gimmick. Basically the way it's gonna go is when we begin fulfillment on Englewood Book 2, that is when the campaign for Englewood Peregrine goes live, and then sometime before that, the campaign for 3 Nights, 4 Days Part 2 will go live. So that way, we can get Preston paid and go ahead and start process on that one, because since Preston is in such high demand, then, it's going to take a year for that book to get done, to be honest. It's going to take time. So yeah. But anywho, so Black Lagoon was the crime story I decided to watch to try to get into the mood of writing a crime drama. Holy shit, Brain! Brain just gifted 5 tier 1 subs. So Optimus, Cats Are Evil, Black Comet, Mononoke, Sultan, all enjoy those, dude. Thank you so much, Brain. Hype Train Go. So anywho. So Black Lagoon it's one of the few anime I've seen that really does a crime drama well. And it does it without... It's very grounded. It's one of the most grounded anime I've ever watched, which is crazy to me, because usually whenever, I'm looking at anime, because I have the tastes that I have, I don't really go out of my way to, look for a style like this. Usually, like with anime, I'm looking for mecha, because mecha is largely an anime-specific genre, at least in regards to animation in general. And I'm looking for... things along those lines, or like some twisted horror, because Eastern horror is very different than Western horror. But this show, somebody told me about it, and basically just said, because we were talking about how, because when did I first see Black Lagoon? I first saw Black Lagoon, I think in 2015, 2016, somewhere around there. It was... No, wait, it was before that. Yeah, it was around the time of Gamergate, is when somebody recommended it to me. Because I was having a discussion with some guys on some live stream at like 3 in the morning. And after it, we basically talked about just this stuff. And somebody we're talking about, English dubs and how they could really be hit or miss. And he just asked me, have you ever seen Black Lagoon? And I said, no. And he goes, do you like crime drama? And I'm like, well, yeah, I do. I really enjoy movies like The Godfather and The Departed and like Goodfellas and shit like that. He's like, I want you to think of it this way. He goes, I want you to think of it like, if you took a crime drama, but you had it in sort of the the modern day equivalent of that one pirate town, pirate port from Pirates of the Caribbean, Tortuga. And he's like, just imagine that and then make it R-rated as fuck. And I'm like, okay. And then I watched it and fell in love with it. And I was just like, whoa, what the fuck is this? You know, like, so the basic premise is this, or it starts off like this, is the Lagoon Company, which is run by Dutch, the black guy on the far end there. And then he has his employees, Benny and Revy. Benny being the guy with the glasses, and then Revy being the chick. And they basically kidnap a Japanese man named Rock, who is the obvious Japanese guy in the tie, for a disc that he has, which has some very dark secrets of a Japanese company that Rock happens to work for. And everything goes fucking haywire from there. The disc has some really dirty secrets on it, and they basically, the company hires somebody to try to kill them. Then that ends up not being what happens, so on and so forth. So, needless to say, it is, it just gets crazy from there. Holy shit, thank you for the bits, Chelsea, and thank you to BS Mincher for the resub. Says, hey Gorilla, hope your spring break is awesome and stress-free. Also, where's Englewood? Vulcan lives. Englewood, I just put an update out just this morning. The pencils are 45% complete, and the colors are getting pretty close. We've got, I can check how many pages we've got colored so far. I think it's like 20 something. I think. Where is it at? Pages, book 2, color. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we have 19 pages colored. No. 21, because Armand just finished 2 of them. That he just sent me. 2, plus the chapter pages are done as well. So yeah, the colored pages are about a third of the way done, which is really good for how long we've been working on it. So, and thank you all for the hype train, by the way. I'd have more energy. I'm just very tired. So back to Black Lagoon. And basically what happens is, the best way to describe it is hijinks ensue, because each arc in the story, which isn't that long, it's usually about three episodes or so. If I were to describe what what's going on, you'd be like, fucking really? But that's the case. Excuse me. Like, it starts off with the opening arc with the MO disc. Then it moves into a Nazi submarine that is basically a shipwreck. I actually don't have any water handy, so you'll have to refund your own points that are hard-boiled. And I don't drink caffeine anymore, remember? So I don't even have any in my apartment. But anyway. So there's a sank Nazi U-boat that actually has some sort of a painting in it that a client wants them to retrieve. And then that creates a whole hijinks because a neo-Nazi paramilitary is also after the painting and they have to fight them, which becomes fucking crazy. And then the second season hits, and then we get the Hansel and Gretel arc. And I'm going to say right now, the Hansel and Gretel arc, which is the opening arc of the second season, is the single most intense crime drama story I think I've ever seen. And I say this as somebody who, of course, has watched Goodfellas, watched The Godfather. You know, I'm not talking about quality, I'm talking about intensity. As in, you can't really believe what you're looking at. Because it's just so fucking jacked up. And, because there's twisted shit in The Shield, right? There's twisted shit in Sons of Anarchy. This was worse. Like, to levels where I was just like, oh my god, what am I watching? But it's so brilliantly written that you can't take your fucking eyes off of it. So, in short, kind of what you get, and then the Japan arc at the end of the second season, Jeebus! That one's intense too. Though it has some funny parts. The give me what section. Just it's so well done. Brian Gilmartin actually makes a really good point in the chat. He says, remember when Dutch stops Revy's rampage in the Nazi arc, telling her that he didn't hire Charles fucking Whitman. Dude, I thought that was so well put together. One thing I need to say about this is that it's kind of hard to argue whether or not Funimation Studios as an entity, I mean the recording studio, is an entity worth keeping around given all the shady shit that the people that run that, had run that company for as long as they did. It's kind of hard to argue that they should still exist. But if they had to make an argument for their continued existence, it would be this dub. Because this dub, the dub for Black Lagoon, is the greatest I've ever seen. In a series, not in a film. The greatest dub in a film is Princess Mononoke. But that's because they had big Hollywood fucking stars in it that did an amazing job. Like, if you've never seen Princess Mononoke, holy shit. Amazing film. But the dub of this fucking show is so natural sounding that you can't really believe that it is as good as it is. This is one series where, like, I've started watching Roberta's Blood Trail, which is the OVA third season of this. So I'll probably review that sometime in the future, because I've never actually watched Roberta's Blood Trail, believe it or not. Yeah, this was a Geneon release originally, but Funimation Studios were the ones who did the dub. This was before they had done like a streaming service, and they were in the distribution game. So this was back in like the early 2010s, I think. Because Funimation also handled the dub for Fullmetal Alchemist around that time too, which also has a really good dub. Thank you, Vic Mignogna, for being as awesome as you are, good sir. This is also, oddly enough, Brad Swale at his best. Which is really saying something. Because Brad Swale is the voice of Amuro Ray. And even when you go back and you watch that old dub of the original Gundam, which I believe Funimation did that one too, the dub of the original Gundam, like, you could say what you will, like, some of the other acting isn't as good because it's a very early dub, but you go back and you watch that, Brad Swale, you could tell, had a ton of talent right out of the gate. And not to mention, he's the voice of, like, 3 of the most well-known Gundam pilots ever. Amuro, obviously, is the most well-known. And then he's also the voice of Katra from Gundam Wing, and he's the voice of Setsun F. Seiei from 00. So, but needless to say, Brad Swale plays Rock in this, and he does a tremendous job. And then, one thing I actually noticed is that in the Japan arc, his Japanese pronunciation is really good. So you can tell he puts his work in for his roles. And then, of course, there's Revy. The character that there's a reason that they put her on the box art, aside from the fact that she's hot. It's the simple fact that she is the most memorable character in the show. Because she's very, very, very complicated. Very complicated as a person. And that's kind of what makes her so enjoyable. At first, you'll like her because she's kind of funny. She's kind of out there. She's absurdly violent. in a weird way. But then you start getting some hints that there's something that's darker that lies beneath the surface. But then you also start to see her attachment towards the rest of the crew. And that is another really enjoyable thing about her as a character. Thank you, Conley Jam, for the follow. So what you end up with is just an incredibly memorable cast. If you want to watch Black Lagoon, it's on Hulu. That's where I watched it. I know it's on Funimation as well. I don't give Funimation my money, so when I watch Roberta's Blood Trail, I'm gonna have to sail the high seas. So that's unfortunate. But needless to say, Micah likes Bad Girls confirmed. Oh, you have no idea. You have no fucking clue. Oh, man. Bad Girls are bubbleheads. That's basically it for me. Funimation didn't dub this in Gundam. This was a Canadian dub company. Is that the case? Let me look that up. Because Funimation Recording Studio is what's listed in the credits. Let's see here. Because the animation was done by Madhouse, which is why it looks as good as it does. Let me see what I can find here. Studio Madhouse, original, da-da-da. Trying to find... The Wikipedia does not say what studio it was recorded at. Now, if it was a Canadian if it was done out of a Canadian studio, and it was produced by Funimation, that would be the thing. It's not Ocean. Brad Swale never worked for Ocean. Because this was dubbed in like 06, 07. Like, they weren't doing a whole lot at the time. So I think you're wrong, Mab. Because here's the thing. Funimation didn't have the original streaming rights either. Hulu did. You know? And they managed to get a hold of them later. So, or be able to stream it as well. They had the rights to Roberta's Blood Trail, which that's the only place you can watch it. So, yeah, it wasn't Ocean. And if it was Ocean that did Gundam, it would have had a completely different cast. Because Ocean had their own people that they relied on. But anyway, as it stands, this is legitimately one of the best anime I've ever watched. It's incredibly well written. It's a lot of fun to watch, and it kind of eases you into the more serious stuff. Which, the darker of the two seasons is season 2. And, it definitely fucks with you. But in a good way. So. 420 Getty throws in $25. Holy shit, dude. Thank you. Says, here's my cringe video. Also, it really sucks how CBS/Paramount ruined the live-action Halo series. Halo the Protocol shows why the human rebels are so bad, but on the TV they're good, and UFC is evil, which is bullshit. Goodness. I thankfully I have no interest in watching it. Do you see a lot of Canadian voice actors credited in the cast list? It wouldn't surprise me if they actually used a Canadian recording studio to do the work, though. Because at the end of the day, if you're doing the production, that just means your company is doing the production and the mixing. You know, the studio recordings could be done anywhere. I mean, you could technically have hire voice actors who have recording studios in their homes to do it. It wouldn't be something I would recommend because you want to have a director there, but yeah. But anyway, so yeah, Black Lagoon, very much worth a watch. If you have Hulu, that's the way I would recommend watching it. You can, of course, buy it on Amazon if you just want to buy it. Real quick, let me have a look and see what the Blu-ray... what the Blu-ray set is, how much it is. Oh, holy shit. No fucking way. So is this the whole series? It is. You can get the whole series of Black Lagoon on Blu-ray right now for $37.11. I wish I had the money. Holy shit. Because I can't spend money on entertainment right now. No more than I already do. But goddamn, that would be a great one to have. Because Black Lagoon is the shit. Like, it's fucking amazing. So yeah, watch it, stream it, whatever. And it will make you very happy, to say the least. Alright, let's go ahead and get to our topics of the week. So, is anybody else looking forward to the sequel to G.I. Jane? Oh, goodness. So the Oscars happened, and nobody's talking about who won what. I don't know what won Best Picture. I don't know what won, whatchamacallit, who won Best Actor or Actress. I don't know any of that. All I know is that Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. And, yeah. This is the most attention that the Oscars has had in a while. And it's all because Will Smith lost his temper. Will Smith won Best Actor? Really? And now there's talk of him, like, he resigned from the Academy. Well, you got the biggest award you could get from him. Like, why stick around? So, basically what happened was Chris Rock is hosting the Oscars, and he's, of course, doing his stand-up routine, because that's what he does. And generally speaking, what's going to happen is whoever the host is, they're going to roast everybody that's there. That's just what they do. And they poke fun at everybody. And one particular thing that happened was there was a joke that Chris Rock made to Jada Pinkett Smith. Now, for those who don't know, Jada Pinkett Smith has a condition that is causing her hair to fall out. I don't remember the name of it, but it's something that you can actually counteract with diet and nutrition changes. It's generally caused by severe stress. Some people just have alopecia. Thank you. And it just happens to some people. I don't know if I have it, but like some of you might remember last year when I kind of had a nervous breakdown, I was losing hair. Like it's a weird thing that just happens to some people, and alopecia is just like a brutal example of it. And as such, she's shaving her head. And he cracks a joke. He says, I'm really looking forward to the sequel to G.I. Jane. And Will Smith starts laughing. He thinks it's funny. And then he looks over at Jada. And Jada ain't laughing. She looks pretty pissed off. And Will Smith, being the broken man that he is, suddenly goes up to the front of the stage, then slaps him and says, "Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth." And Chris Rock just goes, "It was just a G.I. Jane joke." And one thing that was pointed out is apparently Chris Rock had the old ham bone ready to throw back at Will, but he decided better of it. And the funny thing about this, or rather, there's two elements to this. Let me just say this. The first element is it shows how little people think of the Oscars these days. Because you've got the only reason people even paid attention to this was simply because of this slap. Like I said, nobody knows who won what, right? And then the next thing that goes on is just all the drama surrounding it, and it's just silly. The second thing that I don't like about this, like that actually kind of bothers me, is this. It doesn't really excuse the heckler's veto, but it kind of sets a bad example for how people react to jokes in general. And this is maybe me being a worrywart, but I genuinely worry that we're going to start seeing more and more people think that it's okay to just walk on stage and just hit somebody. It's not. That's called assault. You cannot do that. And to be honest, even though the Academy doing what they're doing is kind of in a way too little too late. Because the fact of the matter is if they were that incensed by Will Smith slapping Chris Rock, they would have had security escort him from the building. Hey there, One Path. What's up? So regardless, though, it does make me worry about that because that's not okay. Like, you can't just go. Just because somebody offends you doesn't mean you can go up on stage and just assault someone. You know, it's just silliness. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, I'm hoping that this doesn't start to set a standard, because if it does, we're all gonna have a bad time. So that is pretty much all I have to say about that, though. Second topic of the day. Kind of going to be rolling through these just because I am tired. So, supposedly, Disney's got a little bit of a civil war going on. And Hardboiled makes a good point. He says, celebrities getting miffed at Smith is kind of funny considering the standing ovation when Roman Polanski got that Oscar. Well, here's the funny thing. There's all this talk about taking Will Smith's Oscar away from him, and if he does that, the question is, are you going to take away Roman Polanski's Oscar too? Because I think if there's anybody that deserved to have their Oscar taken away from it, it's Roman fucking Polanski for fucking children. Christ. But yeah, don't be Will and Jada, folks. Like, don't... Big thing is, don't have an open relationship, because at the end of it, you're not going to have a relationship. But anyway. So Disney is in a pickle right now. The events of the last week have been interesting for them, because the controversial, quote unquote, Florida bill that this company was up in arms against passed, which doesn't surprise me. I'm not going to get into the politics of it, and neither is the chat. I'm watching you. But basically, sex education should be at an earlier age, and all that stuff should be left to parents, is basically what Florida wants. And they are able to have that because this is a democracy. Constitutional republic, but you get my meaning. As it stands, Disney had a walkout, where people left their offices, walked around the block a few times going, gay, 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 gay. And it was really cringe. And there was only about 60 people that walked out. And it kind of puts something in perspective. That's not a lot of employees. Disney worldwide, I think, has over 100,000 employees. The parks alone have hundreds of employees. So, the best you can get is 60 people. That's not much of anything. But then again, that's been the statement of a lot of these walkouts that we've seen from a lot of these corporations, right? Like with Netflix, there was a walkout, and then there was a counter protest, and the counter protest had 5 times as many people. Because at the end of the day, these ideas that get pushed, these far left woke sort of ideas, they're not popular. People don't like them. They don't vibe with people, But a lot of how do I put this? A lot of companies tend to think that the vocal minority is the ones you should listen to. Squeaky wheel gets the grease, and that's what that minority is actually relying upon. Is if they make enough noise, they'll just get what they want. And what we have seen over the years is that's happened. And reportedly, I don't know if this has happened yet, that there was going to be another walkout at Disney at the people that are opposed to the people who did the first walkout. And I'm just going to say it's too little too late. You had a high up official at Disney saying, "No, we're going woke. We're going woke." Which made me say this, and made me do that video I did earlier this week, where I basically said, "Abandon all hope, all ye who enter here." Because if the higher-ups are saying that, that's where they're going to go. I mean, we've started to see a lot of Marvel movies move more in that direction, except for Spider-Man. Spider-Man, they played it straight. We don't know how Doctor Strange is going to go. I'm hoping that it's going to be fine. And it wouldn't surprise me if they start to shove more of that into Star Wars like they did with the prequel or the sequel trilogy. I mean, let's be honest. Because of partisan politics, an entire trilogy of Star Wars films was ass. I think that speaks a lot, And Sultankin actually puts a good point. It's the main problem is companies listen to Twitter. Don't listen to Twitter. Twitter doesn't know what it's talking about. Twitter's full of stupid people. If you want to read really stupid things, go on Twitter for 30 minutes. You will read some of the dumbest takes you've ever seen. So, when it comes right down to it, there's one issue that I find here. It is just the simple fact that the silent majority stayed silent for as long as they did. Somebody needs to be speaking up. Because here's the thing. How do I address this properly? Disney's backbone was always family entertainment. Always. And if you're starting to go in the opposite direction of that, you have lost your way. You really have. there's no freaking way that you can think to yourself for 10 goddamn seconds that suddenly deciding that you want to shove stuff into the faces of younger audiences that parents want to address on their own terms. I don't know how brainless you could be, honestly. You know? Because at the end of the day, like, entertainers are just supposed to entertain. We're not politicians. You know, I have no issue with a story being created that has, like, some political inspiration, but Disney's not the company to do it, to be honest with you. And by basically saying you're going to be cramming this down people's throats, what parents are going to see is, you're going to try to cram this stuff down my child's throat. Okay, groomer. Now we've got a problem. So, it is something that Disney's going to have to get hurt at their wallets. You know? And, or people from within are going to need to start saying, look, stop this direction or we quit. Those are your options. You know, because either competition needs to happen or the ship needs to get steered in the right direction. Because at the end of the day, you cannot let the tyranny of the minority take over in places like this, or else it just all goes to hell. 420 Getting Throws in $5 says, I forgot to mention the other stuff, why live action Halo is so bad. Besides ignoring source material, they have UNSC turn on the chief, who goes rogue after the UNSC warned him to kill the human rebel girl, a human girl who was leading the Covenant. What the fuck? What? My brain just broke. It just broke. It's broken now. Like, I read that now, and my brain was, like, suddenly, like, just fucking that one acupuncture scene to Kung Fu Panda. I'm just like, you know, like, what the fuck? So, I'm glad I'm not watching it. Jesus Christ. Alright. Move on to topic number 3. So we're going to do something that I figure we'll do whenever Hatman is not here. I want to know the chat's take. And I'm going to read comments from the chat to get your guys' your thoughts on this. So, the one thing I have been stressing since 2017, 2018 was that alternatives need to be created. There needs to be competition, or else there is no reason for these companies to write the course, because they have what I'll call an effective monopoly, meaning that they have a monopoly on an idea and a direction. And right now you have Warner Brothers doubling down on woke shit. You've got Disney saying they want to go in that direction, yada, yada, yada. There's no major media corporations that are willing to go in the opposite direction. Enter the Daily Wire. So the Daily Wire, obviously has, over the years since it was founded, has become one of the biggest conservative news sites in the world. And again, we're not going into the politics of that. That's just the facts. The question that I want to know, I have 2 questions for the chat. The first off is, what is your immediate reaction to the Daily Wire saying that they're going to invest hundreds of millions of dollars into this stuff, especially kids' content? And second, do you think they'll be able to pull off compelling entertainment that is going to be aimed at several different demographics? Because so far what they have largely done, and this is my opinion, my worry is that a lot of it's just going to be Oscar bait and just dramas and westerns, or war stories, because that's what conservatives seem to watch the most. And that is my worry, because at the end of the day, like, I've seen some of the offerings, and some of it looks pretty fun, but not necessarily, or pretty good, but not necessarily something I would watch. And the Hyperions movie looks like a deconstruction, which makes me not interested. And that's just something that I am somebody that you could describe as being politically conservative, but I always tell people that all of my political positions start with a lowercase letter. When it comes to entertainment, I'm pretty liberal. You know, I'm pretty liberal-minded when it comes to entertainment. I am very anti-censorship. I'm very much saying, you know, let it go out there, let the idea go out there, and then the market will determine whether or not it's a success. And I legitimately worry that the Daily Wire is going to fall into the conservative trap of only doing a few things, and then they're not really going to be competing. They're just going to be doing a few things well, and it's just not gonna go anywhere. So let's see what the chat says. So Hardboiled says, loving Daily Wire's efforts, currently nowhere near able to provide a valid competition with Disney. Brian Gilmartin says, alternative media has to stand on its own merit, not just as a response to woke entertainment. Hopefully Daily Wire can keep that in mind. I agree with that a lot, actually, Brian, because I'll be honest with you, and this is something I've been telling people, is that, like, one reason so many independent comic book creators have seen a drop-off in backer numbers is because back in 2017, 2018, 2019, people were backing a cause. Now, like, the comic book industry's kind of been turned on its head, so it's not so much backing a cause anymore. So you're not really getting those impulse buyers that are there for the cause. They're there. It's like, is it a good comic book? And if you happen to piss a lot of people off, like I managed to, you're going to see even a more significant drop off. Because I have, you know, from 3 Nights Part 2 to Englewood Book 2, we've lost 200 some odd backers. Almost 300. It's bad. You know, and a lot of that's my fault. And then a lot of that is the fact that the book got out late, which is Hatman's fault. So we got a lot of rebuilding to do there. But point being is that it has to stand on its own merits, you know. Brother Mouse says, if it's good, I'll watch it. If not, then I'll keep on doing what I do now. Ignore it. Let's see here. Sultan Kid says, competition keeps the companies at bay. JH says, if they do a good job, he'll watch it. And Mana makes a good point. He says if they don't, then we're right back where we started. And that's another big thing about it. If you're going to compete with a big company like that, you have to be committed to competition. And that was something that I was thinking about, like, with comic books, is like, the next step for what I'm doing is to start getting them into the shops. Because if I can't do that, then I'm not really competing, am I? I'm just doing stuff to a small audience on the internet. You know, I would like to be able to get these in shops so that it'll grow more organically that way. So, and that's what you need to do for competition. I would love there to be a point where people are getting the equivalent of getting, you know, a 12 issues of a comic like Englewood and Project Lazarus every single year. And it's going to take time, and it's hard. And the good thing about the Daily Wire is they have the money to invest in getting that labor finished. So, Mab makes a good point. It's fine, though I can tell it's going to be divisive to those who don't trust them to not put out conservative propaganda. It's very good. That's a very good one. Servant says, 1, took long enough. 2, not on their own as they are now. More need to band together and start going for the big guns. Make newer stuff like Mecha. Yeah, I would agree with that. Brian Gilmartin also says, conservatives need to broaden their horizons instead of just doing deconstruction, drama, and war movies. Yeah. Waistcoat says she's excited for the mission statement they have, but none of the media right now entices me. And they say here, 2 PBS type shows in production right now. Now it makes stuff for older kids like Batman the Animated Series, Avatar The Last Airbender, Clone Wars, etc. Then it's cooking with gas. Yes, that's a very good point, Hardboiled. So... yeah, also worried about them having the same idea that most people do, that animation is just a genre for kids, don't have to work on making it an art form. That's another good point. Because the thing is that a lot of problems that we run into when it comes to this is like thinking, like not really broadening your horizons. You know, if you want to really compete, you got to go everywhere. You got to literally go everywhere. You got to go to animation. You got to go to science, and you got to go to several genres: sci-fi, horror, fantasy, all of it. You got to be willing to go in that direction, because if you're not, you're not really competing. You know. So, because I'm gonna be honest, like the Hyperions is not competing with mainstream superhero films. It's making fun of them. You know, it's deconstructing them, and that's not competing, in my opinion. I don't consider Wanted to be a fucking competition to the Suicide Squad or something like that. Hardboiled says if Daily Wire gets intelligent enough to start producing comics like yours, they would go to Mike S. Miller before they would go to me, because Mike S. Miller knows Ben Shapiro. Now, here's the thing. If I had a budget behind me, if they threw $80,000 at me a year, that does not include paying me, to put behind production of books, I would have these books, I would have yearlies or monthlies for them, written and done, plus we could easily get them distributed to comic book stores everywhere. So, do I like the Darkness games? Yes. I like the first one a lot. The second one I didn't care for. So, Anime Guy makes a good point, or he says, conservatives are closed-minded when it comes to being creative. His parents think that him looking at media and not writing fantasy is childish, should be looking for a better job. Well, you should, to be honest with you. You should always have a day job when you're writing. Writing has to become its own day job. You can't just focus on that. So, piece of advice, like, focus on your day job, write in your spare time, and then see what comes of it. So, but the general idea is that conservative-minded people tend to not be as creative as more liberal-minded people. And that is generally where they run into problems within the arts. You know? Yeah, that's another good point, Falcon Fire says. I think Daily Wire needs to look at the independent scene to find the talent they need to make the content they want, as anyone who works in the mainstream will refuse to work with them due to their status and reputation. Yeah, pretty much. That's kind of how it goes, man. They need to broaden those horizons. And I don't really know if these are the guys to do it. You know, that's the big thing. Like, I'm of the opinion that they need to bring somebody on who is a media director, you know, who would, like, be sort of their head of creative. Somebody who... They need their own Kevin Feige, is what they need, you know. Which, of course, is easier said than done. So fair enough. Interesting takes from the chat there. But when it comes right down to it, yeah, I'm very hesitant, you know, because the one thing that I will say is, like, conservatives, largely speaking, since we have tried to get into creating the alternative, we have not done as good of a job as we could be doing. Books aren't coming out as fast as they need to be. And just there's a lot of problems that just aren't getting solved. And, you know, the current Like, people need to be looking towards the future, and there's not a lot of futurists when it comes to entertainment on the conservative end. There's just not. Nobody's thinking about the future, and it sucks. You know, like, people are, and the thing is, on the political sphere, conservatives saying we need to do something about the culture, but when it comes to actually doing something about the culture, they're either stumped or they're not willing to put the work in. So, and that's sort of the unfortunate part. All right. It's time for that section of the podcast that everybody loves. Time for the Q&A. So, let's see what we got in the Discord server. One thing to mention is that if you are a subscriber to the Twitch channel, you can get into the Discord server that way. So that is the main thing, the main way to get in. So, just a heads up on that. But yes, support for alternatives is necessary. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I seriously need your guys' help on this shit. You know, one thing that I would actually say is, like, if you have friends that are comic book fans, consider backing Englewood to get them a copy. And if you've already backed the book and you do want to do that, let me know. I can create a tier that's a book add-on where we'll just add another to your package. And bing bang boom, there you go. Okay. So, Acorn Soup asks a question. So actually, he asked two, but one of them's kind of an obvious answer. Because he asked me if I would accept an offer from Daily Wire to do, like, animation studio or whatever. Yes, obviously. I think that's obvious. And he says, aside from the obvious decision to make Englewood in 3 nights, 4 days into animated feature films, what feature films or cartoon shorts would you make? Well, obviously, like, my own properties would be part of it, and I would sign the deal that I retain ownership of the IP, and they have distribution rights. But I would be more than happy to make it an exclusive. The other thing that I would do, I would honestly focus on science fiction and horror, and things of that nature, and fantasy as well, to basically kind of branch out into the areas that I really feel like they would need content that they wouldn't really be able to get it through their normal means. So that would be where I would go with it. I don't have any stories in the background that are written at the moment that would do it, but that would be what I would do. Because it's like, if you want to compete with Disney, you need to have superhero shit. It needs to be actual superhero stuff too. And don't have Mike Miller's Lone Star, because that book fucking sucks. Okay, Servant wants to know. Alexa, shut up. That's not what Servant wants to know, though. Tried to look up where it sees Japanese anime studios are bypassing places by Funimation and couldn't. Where would it be? It's just, you look in their credits. It'll say where everything was recorded, and then who produced it. That's what you're looking for. 420 Gunny wants to know, with the forthcoming success of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, you think Hollywood will finally take their heads out of their asses about making actual good comic book games, actual good video game movies on a regular basis to replace the falling popularity of comic book superhero movies? Not really. I mean, Hollywood has been looking at those sorts of things for ages. And it's more or less just seeing whether or not the property is something that you could make into a good film. I'm not really the biggest fan of it, though. What was the last Cordwainer Smith story you paid me to consume? I'd have to look. Let's see here. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba. That's not it. I'm looking through my transaction history for you, Rick. I'm trying to find you. Because you always leave a note. There it is. Mother Hittens Likes Kittens. And I've not had the chance to listen to it yet. Anime Guy wants to know, how much for the kits for you to kit bash a Master Chief GM? Well, it depends. Do you want me to do a Master Grade or just a High Grade? High Grade would be cheaper, but it'd be hard for me to do because I don't have the hands for it. But from what I'm seeing here of this version of it that they did, I could get it done with a Master Grade. Oh, that'd be expensive. So I would have to get the Easy 8. It would be the kits alone would cost like $200. Because a Master Grade at its cheapest is about $50. So at the very least it's $200. So that's hard to do. But it's very pricey, to say the least. But if I had the chance, I could do it. You know. Xenonic wants to know, statement about the Oscars. If I wanted to watch a few hours of celebrities filleting themselves, I would just watch one of their leaked sex tapes. SGD says, what's my favorite Studio Ghibli movie? Princess Mononoke. Melee Brawler wants to know, do you think it's fair to judge a piece of art based on what the company that owns it is currently doing, or is that unfair? From a critical perspective, as a critic, if I'm paid to review something, I'm not taking into account what the company is doing. I'm judging it on its own merits. Now, one thing I will add as an addendum, or not an addendum, but as an addition to whenever I do a review is, if I wouldn't have bought it normally, I will say so, and why I would do it, not do it, or do it or not do it. So. Let's see here. Chagus wants to know, Gundam question. What do you think is the most underrated Gundam series out there? Double Zeta, and it's not even close. The fact that people actually say to me, or told me to skip Double Zeta, and then I watched it and it was ended up being one of my favorites, should say everything. Double Zeta is fucking awesome. And Judo Ashita is like, he's not my favorite pilot, but he's my second favorite pilot. Judo Ashita is fucking awesome. And the Double Zeta is an amazing mobile suit. So that is the most underrated by far. And then to just answer, just as a bonus, if you wonder what I think the most overrated is, it's Double O. Double O is good, but it's also overrated. It's not as good as everybody says it is. Iron-Blooded Orphans is leagues better than Double O. Leagues better story. Leagues better show in general. The animation's better, etc., etc. Hardboiled wants to know, any of your comic ideas you feel might be better served with a live-action adaptation than an animated one? He says he could see a live-action Englewood being high quality. Yeah, I mean, Englewood would not be hard to do live action either. You could do an Englewood movie on low budget. I think anything Englewood oriented for now would definitely be suited really well for live action. I don't think we're ever going to get there, but if the day ever came, then it would be pretty cool. Figured Seed would be the most overrated. No, because Seed just sucks. Double O just is good, but it gets more credit than it deserves. All right. I don't see anything else from the Discord server yet. Oh, RPX is typing one up. Excuse me. Does Taco Tuesday lead to Wreck the Toilet Wednesday? Not for me. I pretty much have like a cast iron stomach though, so. Okay, so let's see what the chat has to say. JH wants to know, what is my favorite Image or Top Cow comic? Probably The Darkness. The Darkness was really good. 420 Gunny wants to know, what do you think about the hate that Morbius is getting as being the worst Marvel movie ever since even worse than the Eternals? I'd have to see it to believe it, because the Eternals was like offensively bad. Like Eternals was just a movie that, on top of trying to like hit all the diversity cards, and as such, as a story, suffered for that. The plot just didn't make any sense. It was just bad. So excuse me. Mab wants to know, why do you think the silent majority didn't act before the woke takeover became apparent at Disney? Because people worry too much that if they speak up against something, they're going to lose their jobs. At the end of the day, you have to ask yourself what's more important. The direction that your company is going that might lead you to leaving anyway, or the potential of speaking up to your bosses and saying, hey, maybe I will lose my job. You know, either way, you might lose it. It's just gonna depend on when it happens. So, Brian Gilmartin wants to know, why do conservatives keep sticking to writing deconstructions, dramas, and war stories when they make media? Because when it comes to war stories, it's because a lot of conservatives are very patriotic people. And we hold soldiers in very high regard. So we like those types of stories. For dramas, I think that it's just a very grounded type of story, and conservatives seem to prefer grounded types of stories. They don't like things that they would define as silly or childish. And then as for deconstructions, basically it's poking fun at the things that they find childish. So that's basically the reasons why. And it's unfortunate because it just shows how uncreative a lot of conservatives really are. They don't allow themselves to have fun, you know. With the reactions from customers in Florida toward Disney's craziness, how soon would it be for executives to oust Chapek from his position? Well, their stock would have to drop a lot. And we would have to see a really obvious shift from the drop in stock and profits from Disney to a rise in stock and profits from their competitors. That's basically what would have to happen. So either that, or he gets caught like smoking or snorting coke in his office. RPX says, does Englewood have a car that can drive straight sideways? No. Could you read Top Cow's Tomb Raider comic from 98 to 2005? I don't have really the time for that, to be honest with you. If a review gets commissioned, that's different, because then you're paying for it. but I just don't have the time right now because I'm in the process of, writing my own books, plus running campaigns, plus working a day job, plus next year I'm going back to college. Like and plus streaming. Like I'm busy as fuck. So, Anime Guy actually asked another interesting question. He says, should conservatives take a bit of C.S. Lewis because he loved the childish things until he made Chronicles of Narnia? Yeah, he has a quote that Preston Acevedo actually has in his Twitter bio. It says, when I became a man, I put away childish things, including the fear of childishness and the desire to be very grown up. I'm on the same boat. I am grown up in the sense that I pay my bills. I'm grown up in the sense that I live as an adult. But just because I am an adult, because I am a certain age, does not mean that I have to throw away that part of my life where I can enjoy life. I like building models. I like playing video games. I like, watching movies and things like that. And I don't really feel the desire to throw those things away. And then, depending on how college goes when I finish my degree, because the goal is, this is going to be a long journey for me. Like, once I'm done with my bachelor's, which will take me about 2.5 years, I'm going straight in for my master's. Then that'll take another couple of years. And then after my master's is done, I'm going for my doctorate. And I will be Dr. Micah Curtis, because that was the goal from the get-go. And to be honest with you, if I hadn't fucked up when I was 20 years old, I would be Dr. Micah Curtis right now. And then be a theologian, and then I wouldn't be here. So, needless to say, it's like there's no reason for me to not enjoy life, And yeah, we don't need more Christian novelists. We need more novelists who are Christians. That's the goal, What's the initials for a theologian? There isn't any, because it's not a medical profession. So it would just be Dr. Micah Curtis. Doctor of what? Theology. So. It's basically something that you could stick on a book that makes you seem like you're really smart. Now, I am pretty smart, so there is that. But yeah. The grown-up Dr. Seuss, Dr. Micah. So yeah, that is the goal, is to get that doctorate, and I don't know, might become a professor, might do something along those lines. I have not decided yet. But the goal is to teach complex theology, which is one of my favorite subjects. I am a big fan of very specific theologians that have very tricky ideas that some people have a hard time grasping. I like Martin Luther. I like Dietrich Bonhoeffer. I like Soren Kierkegaard. Soren Kierkegaard's very tricky. And I like philosophy a lot too. So that would largely be where I would be working. Thoughts on Moon Knight's TV shows so far? I have not watched it. I will have to take the time to do so at some point. But I might wait until the first season is over and then sit and binge watch it. So. Oh, God. All right. Well, we have reached the end of the day. Looks like I owe one clip of cringe today. So allow me to pull that up. Though, again, if we hit, every $25, then I'll do more. But let's have a look-see as to what we got here. 420 Gunny gives me that Mitchell and Webb look. Ooh, I cannot show this. This is copywritten. So let me, you can't hear the audio. You can only hear me watching it. So apologies. Let's go ahead and do it. Is this the one that I think it is?
I've just noticed something. These communists are all cowards. Have you looked at our caps recently? Our caps? The badges on our caps. Have you looked at them? What? No? A bit? They've got skulls on them. Have you noticed that our caps have actually got little pictures of skulls on them? I don't, so... And are we the baddies?
Yeah, that's what everybody remembers that sketch for is, are we the baddies? So, yeah. I guess that's it for today. Shit. Did not take long. You can kind of hear the audio, but the fact that I'm not, watching it verbatim means I'm not going to get struck. The most is they're going to mute the audio for that section. So, oh well. Oh, goodness. I'm exhausted. My voice is starting to go out. Oh, man. So, I appreciate all you guys for hanging out. I will be back tomorrow and on Tuesday. Because I go back, I do Wednesday through Friday are my work days. Excuse me. So, I'm sorry the Hatman wasn't here. Last minute he told me he was going to be out of town. So, it's well, shit. So, I'm going to go get some rest. Hopefully my doctor's appointment tomorrow goes well. And all that fun stuff. Other than that, I can't really think of anything else. Is there anybody that is live right now that we could raid? There is. So, some of you guys might remember a gentleman that beats the ever-loving piss out of me in Guilty Gear. And he's the reason I've gotten so much better at Guilty Gear. Because I don't know if you guys watched how I was playing on Friday. I didn't lose a single match. So yeah. We're going to raid Dunk Train. Because Dunk's a great guy. He's been helping me a lot with my Guilty Gear skills. He's practicing right now. So we're going to go hang out with Dunk. And it should be fun, to say the least. He's a good dude. I like Dunk a lot. So, what is our raid slogan? Let's see here. It's just going to be swords are just cooler. That's going to be the raid message. Copy paste it, and then we shall commence the raid. He's only got a couple people watching right now, so let's go hang out. So, I will see you guys in a few days, or not in a few days. I'll see you guys tomorrow, probably around 9 o'clock or so Central Standard Time, and we shall have some fun. In the meantime, my name is Micah, your favorite vanilla gorilla. You guys have a great night.